Good day, everyone. This is a recorded lesson discussion in reading and writing. Okay, the topic that I'm going to discuss for this discussion is the lesson Patterns of Development. Lesson objectives: at the end of the lesson, the students will be able to identify the different patterns of development, identify the features of each pattern development, recognize transitions that signal each pattern of development, and note the important parts of each pattern of development. So now let's proceed to the proper lesson discussion. The logical arrangement of ideas is known as the pattern of development. The pattern helps you follow ideas easily and understand a text better. Having the ability to recognize will help you distinguish major details from minor ones and predict ideas. So when you write something, it's very important that you need to have an objective or you need to have a purpose. So it depends upon your purpose, how you're going to construct the ideas would you like to convey in your text. So it's better to understand the different patterns so that you'll be able to convey what you are trying to communicate to your readers. There are different patterns by which ideas are developed. In determining the pattern of development of ideas in a text, note the signal words used. These signal words may help you identify the pattern of development, but it is more important that you understand the meaning of the text. So in patterns of development, it's not just about the way you construct your sentences, but you have to understand that there are also appropriate signal words or linguistic cues that you may employ in order to fully develop the text would you like to write. And it's also very important that you need to know how to convey the meanings would you like to express in the text, would you like to your readers to understand in your text. Okay, first is we have definition. Using definition to develop an idea helps to clarify and explain concepts by answering the question, what does it mean? This pattern explains the information through the use of illustrations, examples, and descriptions. It may also include one or more different patterns. So one of the basic patterns of development that you may employ is the definition. So in definition, you need to answer the whatness of the topic that would you like to discuss in your text. So you need to define what is your topic all about. You may provide illustrations, and may provide examples, you may describe the topic that you are discussing in your paragraph. So the signal words that you may use for this type of pattern are is defined as defined as, means, refers to define, and to illustrate. So let's look at this example. Social engineering is defined as any method which tricks people to share personal information through the use of technology. The social component in this scheme means that there is reliance on various psychological tricks and on the gullibility of users rather than technical hacking. Social engineering also refers to various malicious acts online, such as phishing, spamming, and pretexting. Okay. We're going to analyze the text. It's all about social engineering. And based on this uh, text, the term or topic social engineering is being defined. What is social engineering all about? This is what all about the text, sample text. So in this type of pattern of development, you may use spider map in order to present the visual representation of this kind of text. Next, we have exemplification. An exemplification pattern presents the general statement, then provides specific and concrete examples to expound on the main idea. Simply put, this pattern is used to provide an example of something. Okay, when you say exemplification, you need to provide examples, you need to elaborate through giving categories, through giving topics that you can relate to the main topic of the text. So this means that you need to look at the main idea of the text. It's because the text will revolve around the main idea of the text. All the related details that you can found in the text are based on the main idea of the text. So these are the signal words that you may use. After all, as an example, consider the following. For example, for instance, in other words, in particular, in short, namely, put another way, specifically, stated differently, that is, to be specific, to clarify, to illustrate. So in this kind of um, pattern of development, you can also use spider map in order to show the visual representation of this kind of text. Let's look at this example. While the internet offers so many benefits to man, it also has its downsides. One of these is phishing, which refers to the act of obtaining personal information such as passwords and credit card details through online means. In other words, phishing is a form of cybercrime. As an example, let us consider the case of Mr. X. He received an email stating that his Gmail account has been compromised and that he needed to click a link to update personal information. If Mr. X clicks on the link, his personal information will be illegally acquired by cyber criminals. So, in this kind of text, um, the main topic is the disadvantages of internet, which this describes as the phishing. So in this sample text, it describes what is phishing all about, how can a person commit this kind of cybercrime, and what are the things that you may experience when you are being caught on this kind of cybercrime. So this is exemplification. It elaborates about the topic, it gives samples, um, and it provides other details about the main topic or main idea of the text. Next is description, sensory and spatial. A descriptive pattern basically provides details on the idea by using either a sensory or spatial pattern. Through a sensory pattern, ideas are arranged based on one or all of the five senses. Spatial pattern, on the other hand, arranges ideas by location or physical space. Say description, you're going to describe the topic that you want to discuss in the text. So it could be sensory or spatial. So sensory, these are the things that you may observe based on your senses. You say spatial, these are the things that you may observe based on the physical space or the location, meaning you need to arrange the ideas based on the location. Um, You may use signal words such as above, across, adjacent to, against, along, alongside, amidst, around, away, away from, back of, behind, below, beneath, etc. So the signal words that um, you may use for this kind of pattern of development signifies location. Sample text. A laptop is one of the greatest inventions of the modern era. It is a lightweight device that can save a vast amount of information. The screen, touchpad, speakers, keyboard, battery, and AC adapter are the basic parts of a laptop. The most noticeable part of a laptop is its screen, which is responsible for displaying information. Another major component is a keyboard. On it are the keys needed to enter data into the computer. Near the keyboard, you will find a smooth rectangular surface which acts like a desktop computer mouse. This is the touchpad. At the bottom part of this rectangular face, you will see buttons that operate like a mouse button. Below the keyboard and touchpad, built into the laptop itself, are the speakers which allow you to hear sounds and music. Found at the back of the keyboard is the battery. It serves as the lifeline of the computer. Finally, a laptop also comes with an AC adapter, which charges the battery and serves as the source of electric power when it is plugged in. So, as you can see, laptop is being described in this um, sample text. It describes this text describes the parts that you can find in the you can find in the laptop. Next is the chronology or procedure. A chronological pattern organizes ideas or events according to time. It can either be the form of a narration or a process. A narration sequences the events in order in which they occurred in time, while a process or organizes details based on stages or steps. In chronology or procedure, it refers to the time of uh, the order of time of events or the organization of ideas. In chronology or procedure, you can use this if you want to um, present a text about the events, which the sequence of events, or you may um, present step-by-step process or procedure or manual of something that you're about to do. So in this type of pattern of development, you may use series of events chain or timeline, which presents the events happen over a period of time. So the signal words that you may use for this type of pattern of development are about, after, afterwards, as soon as, at this or that point, before, during, eventually, finally, first, immediately, etc. So these are the signal words or linguistic cues that you may use when you write a text which is about chronology or procedure. Okay, example. Ondoy began to develop from an active low-pressure area to a tropical cyclone on September 24, 2009. The following day, Pag-asa raised storm signals all over the Philippine archipelago. At that point, signal number 2 was raised in Catanduanes and other parts of Luzon. By Saturday morning, reports of flooding started to pour in. Meanwhile, President Arroyo declared a state of calamity in Metro Manila. Immediately after President Arroyo's declaration, various government agencies began the rescue and relief operations. As soon as Typhoon Ondoy exited the Philippines, more and more relief and rescue operations were conducted. So, based on this sample text, you can see that about the events happened before, during, and after the the Typhoon Undoy happened. So it narrates what are the events happened during this calamity. So this one, it's about the process. During flooding, one thing that may probably save your life is an improvised flotation device. You can make one using your pants. First, knot off the leg holes of your pants, then hold the open waist and swing the pants around to fill the legs with air. Promptly knot off the waist to trap the air and hold the pants underwater so that the air would not escape. So this kind of text shows the step-by-step procedure and how to improvise a flotation device. So it describes how we're going to do it step by step. So this is an example of procedure. The next one is listing. A listing pattern organizes ideas using enumeration. Unlike a chronological pattern, listing does not require the items to be sequenced chronologically because it does have the element of time. It basically presents a series of items, such as facts, examples, features, reasons, and tips that support a main idea. Make sure to pay attention to these essential aspects when writing down your notes. Say listing, you just have to list what are the things that you can relate to the topic that would you like to discuss. Whatever it is, as long as you know how to relate um, the details on the main topic. So there's no need to chronologically arrange the details that would you like to include in the text because there's no element of time in listing. It's just you just have to list what are the things that you can think of that are related to the topic that you want to include in the text. Okay, the signal words for this type of pattern of development are additionally, again, along with, also, and then another as well besides, etc. Okay, let's look at the sample text. Picking the right career is such a daunting task because it pits passion against reality. Would you choose a profession you love or would you choose a more lucrative profession? Some find a hard time choosing at first, so do not be surprised if you see people shift careers several times before they achieve success. On this note, here are some tips to help you choose the right career. Identify your interests. Are you fascinated with numbers, arts, sciences, human behavior, computer technology, or teaching? To process as well your reason for choosing a particular career, you can also factor in the financial component during stage. Another thing that you can do is to focus on and learn everything about your chosen career. If you want to be a doctor, know exactly what a doctor does and check whether you can handle this type of profession. In addition, try to visualize yourself 5 or 10 years from now and develop a plan to achieve the goal in your mind. Remember not to rely on luck when it comes to your career. Instead, make recent decisions based on what you want. So, this kind of text, it talks about picking the right career. So, what are the pros and cons? What are the situations that you may encounter? And what will be the right decisions that you need to consider when it comes to choosing the right career for you? So, it lists down what are the things that you can do in order to choose the right career for you based on your interest or and based on the things that one profession do or one profession does. The next is comparison contrast. A comparison and contrast pattern organizes ideas based on how events, places, people, things, and concepts are similar to or different from one another. There are two ways on how ideas can be arranged separately, which involves describing one item first, followed by the second item, or side by side, which means discussing both items based on each point of comparison. So basically, when you say comparison and contrast, you're going to present the similarities and differences of the things or the subjects or the entities that you're trying to compare and contrast in the text. So in this type of pattern of development, you may use Venn diagram in order to show the visual representation of the text. Okay. Signal words for comparing. Also as both equally in a similar fashion, in comparison, in the same way, like, likewise, similarly, to compare. So signal words for contrasting, although and yet, as opposed to, but conversely, counter to, despite, even so, even though, in contrast, in spite of, etc. Okay, let's look at the sample text. Are you not sure yet which phone to buy? To help you decide, this review will inspect the basic similarities and differences of the flagship phones of two giant companies, Apple's iPhone 6 and Samsung's Galaxy S5. Both brag to be the best smartphones in the market to date. While these state-of-the-art phones have similarities in the form of their sleek design, multi-touch screen, and multimedia features, they have their distinctive features as well. First, Galaxy S5 has a larger screen at 5.1 inches as compared to iPhone 6 4.7 inches. As for the operating system, iPhone 6 uses iOS 8 while S5 uses Android 5.0 4.4.2. In terms of the camera, S5 has a 2.1 megapixel front-facing camera, which is higher than iPhone's 1.2 megapixels. Unlike S5, iPhone's battery is not user replaceable and has a shorter talk time. But when it comes to built-in storage, iPhone 6 outperforms S5. Now that you know the basic differences of the two phones, you can decide. So, as you can see in the text, it compares and contrasts uh, iPhone 6 and Samsung Galaxy S5. So it presents their similarities and differences. Next one is classification and division. A classification pattern organizes ideas into categories or divisions based on criteria and standards. This pattern can be used when classifying people, objects, events, things, places, and other items. Make sure to always double check whether each term is undeniably part of a certain category. Avoid oversimplifying just so you may able to assign something to a category as it may result in stereotyping. Say classification and division are going to divide, classify, categorize ideas based on their similarities or based on their characteristics. So if they have the same characteristics, they can be categorized under a similar category or similar idea. So it can be used um, when you use network tree. Um, it can be used to show um, the different species of one um, animal family as long as you categorize the information or details of the text. The signal words that you may employ are another, another kind, classified as, final type, one kind, the first category, the last group, the next part. Okay, let's look at the sample text. Earthquakes can be classified into three main types based on the plate movements. The first type is known as a convergent boundary, also known as destructive plate boundary. This type of earthquake happens when two tectonic plates move toward one another and collide. The second type of earthquake is called the divergent boundary. During this type of earthquake, two plates are forced to move away from each other, resulting in a rift zone. The last type is called the conservative plate boundary or transform fault. During this type of earthquake, two tectonic plates slide past one another. So as you can see in the text, the different kind of earthquakes are being described. Next is cause and effect. A cause and effect pattern organizes details based on the cause, the reason, and the result or consequences of a certain phenomenon. This pattern may discuss both the causes and effects, the causes only or the effects only. Say cause and effect, it refers to about the reasons why an event happened. So meaning that there's the cause or the reason or uh, the start of a phenomenon, then the effects or the result of those causes or reasons. The signal words that you may use for causes are as, because of the fact, being that, due to the fact, for the reason that, in that, in view of, in as much as, etc. And for effects, accordingly, as a consequence, as a result of this, because of this, consequently, for this reason, etc. Example text. The advancement in technology and economy has created major changes in modern society. One of these changes is globalization. As we know, globalization has affected the world in many ways. First, it served as a catalyst to worldwide trading, thus allowing countries to access foreign products. Although this had positive effects, it also posed a real threat to the merchandise of local traders. Second, globalization affected the financial market. As a result, different countries have more access to funds and exchange and national currencies dramatically increased. Finally, globalization also led to the privatization of various facilities, such as public health institutions. These institutions were being privatized due to the idea that the private sector can better manage and provide health services. In consequence, health policies become more and more of a commodity on a global scale. So, based on this example, it talks about the major changes happen because of the advancement in technology and economy. So it talks about the globalization, which is one of the major changes in the modern society. It discusses about the effects, what are the things that people can benefit, or and what are its disadvantages. So it talks about the cause and effect of globalization. Next is problem solution. A problem solution pattern organizes ideas into problems and proposed solutions. The problem section usually includes the what, who, when, where, why, and how of the problem. The other part then presents the major effects of the problem and the possible solutions to address it, as well as the steps in implementing the solution. Note down these parts when you encounter a problem solution text. Okay, the signal words are but, first, second, nonetheless, one reason for the one solution is, one way is, the problem, the solution. So in problem solution, you need to start with the negative and then you need proceed with the positive. So you need to start with what's the problem? What's the thing that um, is being um, presented negatively and uh, which needs a solution to that problem, how to address the problem. Example text. Today, most of the energy resources we have are generated from coal, oil, and natural gas. However, these resources are limited. If continuously consumed at an alarming rate, fossil fuels necessary for generating power to operate vehicles and factories will run out before long. Nonetheless, this problem can be resolved through the use of alternative sources of energy and conservation efforts. First, using alternative sources of energy such as solar energy and fusion energy would lessen pollution. These alternatives are actually more accessible and cost efficient. Although there are some potential risks in using fusion energy, this risk can be mitigated by implementing strict safety measures. The second solution that governments can adopt is the enhancement of conservation efforts. To do this, governments needed to make the public more aware of the benefits of conservation, as well as ways of conserving energy, such as recycling. Laws can also be passed to mandate the public and all stakeholders to recycle energy. So as you can see in this sample text, it presents the problem, which is um, the possibility that coal, oil, and natural gas uh, can be exhausted, be exhumed. So, in order to avoid this problem, this text presented an alternative for this problem, which is the use of solar energy and fusion energy. So, the text also provides the advantages and the potential usage of solar energy and fusion energy. And next one is persuasion. A persuasion pattern organizes ideas to show how a set of evidence leads to a logical conclusion or argument. Specifically, this pattern presents the issue, the position, and the supporting evidence that supports the position. Make sure to check these three essential elements while reading a persuasion text. Okay, in persuasion, you need to provide what's your stand or position about the issue. and you need to provide your arguments, your claims. And it's very important that you need to provide supporting evidence in order to support your claims or arguments, solidify your position about the issue. And the signal words for emphasizing a point. Again, for this reason, in fact, in that case, indeed, to emphasize, to repeat truly with this in mind, and for concluding and summarizing, accordingly, all in all, as a result, as I have said, consequently, etc. And for conceding a point, admittedly, assuredly, certainly, granted, it is true that, etc. So these are the signal words or linguistic cues that you may use when you write a text or a pattern of development which persuades your audience. Example text. Euthanasia or mercy killing has been a widely debated issue. It is an act to end a person's life to alleviate the suffering brought about by a terminal or grave illness. While it may be supported by some, mercy killing is not only an ethical medical practice, it is also a crime. After an On the most basic level, euthanasia still takes life. In fact, majority of the countries in the world, including those that have legalized it, consider it as homicide. Aside from being a crime, euthanasia is unethical in a medical context because it violates the principle of primum non nocere, which means first, do no harm. In their code of ethics, doctors have the responsibility of saving lives, not destroying them, which is why euthanasia can never be acceptable. So, based on these texts, the author persuades the people about his or her stand or position about the issue, which is the euthanasia or mercy killing. So, um, the author provides his or her arguments, claims why euthanasia is wrong or unethical. So that's an example of persuasion. And that's the end of the discussion. Thank you for watching the video.